my name is Mac. In this IDIS Forum, I'm a student here in the IDIS. I would like to ask one question. Currently, just last week, the popular news is that the Thai Finance Minister has suggested adjusting for a weaker baht to help the Thai exporting market. And since the EU is one of the top 5 Thai export market, do you personally agree with this policy, and how would it affect the Thai market, and how should Thailand react to the Eurozone decline? Thank you.
We get more questions first, and then you can answer at the same time. Professor Vivat, Dr. Vivat, I always enjoy your questions. So wait for your questions.
Well, thank you, Dr. Somkiat, Ambassador Somkiat, for giving me the honor of being present at creation of the IDIS. And thank you for Dr. Somchai, Professor Somchai, for your good lecture, also receptive and comprehensive, that the main points have been covered, or the main points have not been escaped by your attention. Well, I come here out of respect of and admiration of Dr. Somchai, who still speaks Spanish fluently. It reminds me of the King Charles V of Spain 500 years ago, at the height of his power, when he ruled half of Europe and discovered America. One said, "I speak Spanish to God, and I speak French to men, and I speak Italian to women, and I speak German to my horse." English was not mentioned at that time, 500 years ago. But we still have Dr. Somchai speaking Spanish to men and women. Well, I like to follow a question from the gentleman over there that why didn't Europe realize that the crisis is coming? Why didn't they realize that this problem is coming at this time? Because there was a widening gap between the elite, bureaucratic elite of Europe, perhaps, that formulate supra-national policy of economic integration, and the citizen of each particular country who echo their political sentiments all over Europe. And despite the vote no in France and in Netherlands, the elite went on and formulated the idea. So why they didn't realize the problem? Because Europe problem is caused by Europe itself. There's no intervention from any particular part of the world. So I think I'm just wondering that this is quite paradoxical that Europe is a cradle of democracy. It's now facing obstruction from democracy in Europe itself. So how would you perceive this problem? The widening gap between the elite and the citizen. And also in this light, how would you view ASEAN 2015, that this crisis in Europe would teach any particular lesson today? Thank you.
answer first. Frankly speaking, if you look at the suggestion of the Deputy Prime Minister, they want baht to be weaker, 33 or something like that. But if you look what happened in the real world, in the past, the world is not liberated. Liberalization comes at a cost. So what happened? Once the world is opening to the global arena, so the role of the Bank of Thailand will not be the same again. You have to concentrate. You could not do two or three things at the same time. How could you, for example, manage foreign exchange and at the same time you manage inflation? You have to focus on one. So what happened? If the baht is artificially pegged at 33, what will happen? Once, like what happened, your baht is artificial. So what will happen? Once you go to the reality, adjustment will be drastic. Disaster. Secondly, if you peg at 33, I am the investor. I know that you could not accept hold that level forever. So I believe that one day you have to deal with the what we call demand and supply measure. So what I do is that I come here with a lot of money. What happened? I change it to baht with the influx of milk and keep it. Finally, you have to go to the rule of demand and supply. Like your source, you can speculate at the expense of what happened. Thirdly, of course, the logic of the Deputy Prime Minister, Thailand depends on export for 70% to 80%. So if we, for example, make the baht bigger, it means that the GDP growth will be triggered by higher volume of export. But that is a cost. What will happen in the future? One, like what happened in India, in Japan, they have to adjust at a cost. What happened to yuan? They have to revalue. So gradual. But if there is a drastic one, so that is the cost. Secondly, the price of fuel is rising. So it says mean that import of fuel will be higher. So what will be the benefit? On one hand, you help the exporter, but on the other hand, you punish the importer. But of course, the cost is that in a developed country, there could be a balance between what we call Bank of Thailand, the central bank and the Ministry of Finance. Underdeveloped means that you impose your will upon that. So listen, that is the most dangerous one. It means that your mindset could destroy what we call the integrity of the role of the Bank of Thailand forever. That is the cost that is outpace all the other economic reality. Okay? So that's why Germany is very strong because you have what we call you have what we call a strong bank of central bank in order to counter any what we call temporary whim of the politics that want to stimulate at the expense of what we call the future problem. Okay? For Ajahn, the question here, yes, I do agree with Ajahn. We have what we call the democratic gap. That's what we call democratic deficit. On one hand, you have what we call change at the level, but without the knowing awareness of the people. So that is what the European Union try to, for example, narrow the gap. But how? That is not easy. That is really what happened. So that's why you know that is what we call a long struggle. On one hand, you have the what we call Commission. You have the European Parliament, but all these ones are not accountable to the sovereignty. So there's a fight between what we call the governmental against what we call federalism. So that is a fight in order to make sure So in the future, this kind of deficit must be narrowed. In narrowing, you need what we call accountability. Okay, this is one thing. Secondly, Dr. Vivat asked about the ASEAN. Frankly speaking, 2015, we call this one ASEAN ASEAN Economic Community. It is a copy of European Economic Community. Frankly speaking, what happened? European Economic Community in 1992, comparing with now, because when we talk about economic community, it means common market, means there will be liberalization of four factors of production. One is product, merchandise, second is labor, third service, and the fourth investment. Okay, 2015 is far compared with 992 of euro. It's something like what happened. 992 is mean that you have already graduated what we call the bachelor, and in 2015 is just starting the first semester of the bachelor. So it's a long way to go. Comparing very frankly, look at what happened. Liberation of free flow of goods is more or less the same because it's after now 99% of product between 6 countries they are in the trade DDO1, except Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. It's already 98 or 99% achieved. Comparing with the 4 other countries, it achieved just over 98. It's about lacking 2, so it's nearly complete. But this one, European community achieved in 1964. Okay. Secondly, when we talk about free flow of labor, EU has gone so far, but here in 2015, they are just only limited to 6 to 7 professionals that will be liberated. One is doctor, secondly dentist, third nurse, the fourth one architect, the fourth one engineer, accountant. But you have already Schengen, the free flow a lot better. Third, service, 2015, just only 5 sectors of service will be liberated to the point that ASEAN ownership will go up to 70%. One is aviation, tourism, healthcare, logistics. Comparing with Europe that has already liberated nearly all. And fourth, in what we call investment, they still believe that there are 7 types of investment that will adhere to the rule of what we call national treatment, but not go beyond that. And what about what we call financial? Financial in the near future will be what we call cross-listing. It means that stock market in Thailand and Singapore, Malaysia will be closely coordinated. Investor here can invest, for example, stock in Malaysia, and in the future there could be what we call one market. When you are listed here, you can capitalize in all the other countries. That is what we are going to do. But comparing with EU has gone far to the point that you have the single currency. So we are still baby comparing with Europe. That is already mature one. It's a long way to go. And look at what happened. In order to achieve 1992, Europe have to dismantle 3 class of barrier, physical barrier. So ASEAN need to go dismantle the physical barrier. Come Schengen. Secondly, technical barrier harmonization. Here you go from single window to that kind of thing is still what we need to do in the future. And fifth, fiscal barrier, this entangle, you have to harmonize what we call value-added tax. So that is what we need to do. So it's still a lot of work to do in order to make sure that we can catching up a little bit further from EU, from European Community in 1992.
Thank you very much. I think we have enjoyed the talk. I think most of the points have been covered. And I'd like to sum up a little bit that you can hear me. Hello. Yes. I think what the Euro is doing here is, trying to achieve peace, among the European countries after the Second World War, and they have achieved, from the Western country first, and then Central Europe. Now you have one big region, and I think this is a great experiment. Europe has never been unified like this since the Roman Empire. When everybody was under one roof, that was a real political union, the Roman Empire in the past. But now it's not a political union. But you will always have troubles because you have not exactly a political union. You still have divergent, fiscal policy. You still have freedom political actions. In different countries, of course, the government would play up to the electorate. For example, a lot of spending, over income, because they want to achieve a certain electoral victory. So, and then this sort of thing will continue, with Europe. But for ASEAN, I quite agree with you that we are a little bit far behind. Because we are following the steps of the EU, step by step, and actually we are still at, as you pointed out, 1992, but not yet, fully, and we have a lot of things to do. And ASEAN is much different from the EU, because the EU, at least, you have another criteria to be member of the EU. You must be a democratic country, a democracy, but in ASEAN. It's not yet. That is not a requirement yet. And if you look at Asia as a whole, of course, we have a lot of different political regimes. So it's difficult to integrate among us. So be that as it may, I still feel that China and India will rise, and it would be a factor, big factor in the world order and security. Of course, that's why the Americans are a little bit worried. They are looking at the world, and Europe declining will be a big worry for the United States, while Asia is rising. So America, will have to look at the world as a whole and try to keep the balance, peace in the world. I think we have learned a lot, and I'd like you to give a big hand to our speakers.